Zoom tonight, so, because I can't get into the internet, so we'll let it be. Apologize to anybody who's on the tape who wanted to Zoom in, but I don't have a password into the private thing. Public one's not hooking up. Alrighty. Call meeting to order. Let's take a look at our current voting members. Looks like we have to do a roll call. All right.
It isn't here.
David, Sarah, John, Kathleen, Chris, Dick. You're a voting member tonight.
I am the seventh.
You are the seventh person, yes. What you think counts especially.
Okay.
All right, so we've done that. Review and approve minutes from the planning board meeting September 8th. Copies available if you haven't read it. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I hear a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. All right, we're moving right along. Public comment. All right. No one in the public is owning up to any comments. All right. The order that David put here is solar power ordinance draft, and I think we were supposed to all be taking a look at umpteen examples, 5 or 6 of which look almost exactly alike
Too early.
to the, you know, if you're Wisconsin, Minnesota, Indiana, I think
It's all by the same.
it's got the same photo at the top, you know it's a cheat.
But each one is individual to the particular state for whatever extra, what particular ordinances they have and programs.
I found a couple out of New Hampshire.
Yeah, there was one from Milford, and we have previously, we have the one that was the sample given by the state.
Like a Wilton one. I mean, the state ones are so comprehensive.
It is, it's over much. So,
And then there's the one that I found the best was the one that I sent a link to everybody right after the last meeting. Is best practices for, et cetera, yeah, that one. That was really good because it gave an explanation for each one of the sections.
so I guess my question for everybody is, how do we want to go about doing this? I think if we sit here and try to go over every piece of language and the things, we're gonna be here like till 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not gonna be here 2 o'clock in the morning. So.
Did you have Kevin here last time?
We did. And he provided some input for us on the fact that right now, all we have is the building code, and there is a building code for installations, and he does do inspections. There are some limits though, and the limits that we have are things like, you know, if you want to put a landscaping barrier and that kind of thing, you're not required to do that right now. As a for example, obviously people, when they put them into their property, they want it to look right, and most people do something. But compared to, for example, some of the model stuff that we have here where it suggests, and the setbacks are also required. But comparatively to what would be in an ordinance, what we lack are restrictions on size, potentially glare issues that might exist if it's installed incorrectly. Some of the models indicate an installation such that it's not able to be seen from the right of way.
So when you get into it, I saw one that said it has to be in the backyard.
Yes, right.
So
yeah.
if you get into backyards, not visible, barriers around it.
Minimizing the
How-
installation.
And how much do you then minimize the effectiveness of it? If you start building, if it's gotta be only here, and if it has to be surrounded, to me, it sounds like it's not worth having at that point.
Right. So, but having nothing versus having something that suggests that maybe installations should be done tastefully, whatever that means,
Right.
tastefully, but.
I mean, playing devil's advocate, I can put up a completely tasteless garden shed or, something like that.
Yeah, but where you live, no one notices. In fact, you may have one.
Right, I'm a little wary of getting into aesthetics, because that's gonna be a real gray area. And in this case, again, you're gonna undermine, the effectiveness of it. I mean, one thing I'm still not clear on is, in base term, what do we want to promote and what do we want to prevent? And starting off with the bigger picture, I think we all want to promote residential solar, within reason.
Yeah.
I think we all don't want, an industrial solar farm. There may be certain properties where that might be absolutely fine because it's a landlocked property and it's totally invisible from everywhere, but how you would legislate it only going to that type of property, I don't know.
I've had mixed feelings, especially after just taking time to read, and especially when you take a look at some of the broader goals that are stated in some of these, where they're trying to, some of the goals are to promote solar, to promote solar independence for the community. And, I think we're still, most of us all either have an oil burner or a gas burner or propane or wood or something, but that we depend on. 20, 30 years out from now, many of those things will seem like clunkers and old antiquated kind of things that, oh yeah, we used to do that. Grandpa used to do that, yeah. Just the same way we kind of smile at coal bins these days and talk about, somebody firing up the stove. It's a little bit different now than it was 50, 60 years ago or 100 years ago.
Well, maybe 20 years from now, the solar panels won't look like that,
No,
And they'll be,
it
Yeah,
won't.
they're
yeah,
making shingles that,
Right.
they are, yes.
Yeah,
And,
so
so-
it will change, and we're going to get caught in a time warp here no matter what we do.
is there actually any rush to get through this?
No, I don't.
I'm saying that there is, I mean, I think,
I mean, the only concern would be, someone moves in and sets up a giant, installation that we don't want. The only thing is that it's so flippin' expensive here in Jackson, even the worst land, that, if you're gonna do that, you're gonna do it in Chatham or North Freiburg or, somewhere where the land is, brownfield.
Yeah, well, but if someone decided that their farm fields support,
Yeah, if they wanted to keep the land.
solar farm is better than Galloway's.
Well, you might even have someone that, in Jackson that would say, well, I really think solar is the way the world should go, and I'm going to donate my land to a solar installation.
Ooh,
Or somebody buying Black Mountain with its lovely south exposure.
Right, well, and yeah, that,
that would be a particularly good idea, yeah.
Well, I live up there, I'll sabotage them at night.
I mean, I think the chances are remote, but it's possible.
Yeah, and that's why we're talking about it. So the question is, I don't know that we necessarily have to accomplish this thing in time for this cycle. But we do need to get at it. And so the only way you can get at it is to start.
Which is what I did this week. I took all of the various examples that we had and started with the very nice model ordinance that's in this, which I hope everybody had a chance to look at, and took out what all the pieces that I felt was relevant to to Jackson, and then went through the other ordinances and picked off any other bits and threw it together this afternoon.
Wow.
And
A model ordinance?
well, this is a draft of the model ordinances. I may not have enough copies there.
Just 2 pages?
Yeah.
I like it.
So, and I was taking, as a
It's on both
start,
sides.
what we said last meeting is that, yes, we wanted to have residential rooftop and ground mounted as accessory uses to the primary use, which would be essentially residential, or you can have it down here for commercial, somebody's business that they want to put a rooftop solar on. And then also small, the small scale commercial, trying to think of how big would you be able to, how much land you could take up with a solar installation, a whole bunch of solar panels, that wouldn't detract from all of our the master plan objectives of keeping us a tourist community. So I allowed it to, the community scale solar system, I said that's land coverage of no more than 5 acres. Now that's not that much. And I kind of went a little bit through the tax maps to see, okay, what 5 acre piece, how big is that? And if the town wanted to put a solar installation over the old dump site up in the Loon Road, I mean, that's kind of out of the way. That's 3.5 acres. And a 5 acre down here, the parcel that the snowflake is on is about 5 acres. And then it abuts town land, which is the ball field and down to the pond.
Building code also does not allow installation in floodplain. And those properties are.
I was just thinking for size, if you wanted to have a feeling of
No, I hear.
how big is
But they're on
5
poles.
acres. Huh? Right, yeah, they're on poles, it's much better than some of the others.
In general, when we talk about size restrictions, whether it's square footage of panels, land size, would it be better to talk more in terms of power output so that it scales as the technology changes?
Well,
In other words,
The
five
opposite.
acres now compared to what 5 acres will produce, you'd only need an
Right.
acre 20 years from now to produce what you could in 5 acres today.
all the better.
If you're gonna promote, that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess,
That
And
would.
that, I think we're not so much concerned about how much power you're gonna make, but what's the impact gonna be
Footprint,
visually?
footprint, yeah.
And,
Well, part of it is what the co-op will take onto their lines, because they're not gonna run new line in for nothing. to, accommodate a solar farm. And I had a question, if an industrial-sized solar farm,
Mhm.
would that be a non-conforming business in the rural residential area?
Right now, the zoning ordinance is silent as far as solar is concerned.
But it would
So-
still be a business.
If the owner lived on the property, it was just that one or a couple.
But it would be an industrial-sized business.
Right, but for home operated businesses, we don't qualify based on size. It's based on residency and number of employees, right?
Right.
And so you could have it,
For a,
Business.
so as long as it was less than
Normal
3
home
employees, or whatever it
industry.
is, and someone lived on the property, that,
okay, I'm just,
I think that qualifies under our home occupancy.
you think that a solar farm would be commercial?
Well, I mean, a bed and breakfast is commercial.
Right, there's a change of,
If I'm doing crafts
change of
in my
use or
house.
whatever, it's not, I mean.
I'm just saying, we allow small businesses in residential based on occupancy, that the person owning or running the business lives there, and that there are less than, I think, 3 employees, or 3 or less
It's
than
3,
3.
and then I think it has to be the primary use of the, as far as, I guess, square footage is.
Is it primary use as residence?
Residence, yeah.
Oh, then it wouldn't qualify for that.
I can look it up, but anyway.
Unless you put a
If you're
house
talking
use.
about, like, at least the way this model says, you have a large commercial would be between 5 and 25 acres, industrial 25 to 50 acres, and utility solar is 50 acres. And I don't think we're gonna get a 50, we wanna have a 50-acre farm,
Mm.
solar farm. So I just went with the smaller one, which is, which we talked about last time, is up to the commercial solar, which was defined in this one model ordinance that we were looking at last time.
Yep.
It's use of land, 1 or more freestanding ground-mounted systems with a nameplate capacity of up to 1 megawatt AC and at less than 5 acres of solar land coverage. So, then there's other, if you have a community system, I think that is different from a commercial system. You'd have to define it, but be a system that would be used by a community like Wentworth, that they put up a solar array that was then grid linked, net metered, and then the benefit of it was spread through all the owners at Wentworth, something like that.
Mhm.
Or just your own, neighborhood. People band together and somebody donates the land and you put up a commercial, community solar. And I think that should be encouraged. I think the more,
Well, that'd be interesting if they could use common land
yeah,
for a solar array. I
Right.
mean, many places you can't do anything on the common land, but you could allow solar
that would then benefit everybody.
for a
in the
community
Yeah.
situation. Or even a cluster housing, you say 3 or 4 houses that came together with some common land
Mhm.
that could put in an array that would, be usable for 3 or 4 houses.
So are you saying that or in this, are we allowing commercial?
As I say, this is just a draft, and looked at my watch and said, I either have a choice of refining this or getting some dinner, so.
Dinner one,
And then I
I
said,
hope.
okay, just
Dinner-
hit save and hit print, and then we're off.
dinner-
So yes, I just throw this out as a way of starting talking and getting what other ideas do we want and how to incorporate them.
Well, this is a great start.
Yeah.
It's simple. You know, I mean, it's simplified, I guess is the nice way to say it.
And is this the best practice, the guide for accessory use? So that part of it was easy, pulling out from that, because we said definitely we want to allow that. And what you would do is just have that added to one of the uses under the rural residential district regulations, and then villages are all the rural residential plus, and a list of commercial things that are in it.
So, I mean, this looks good. What I was going to suggest, not having known that you did this, was that between now and next meeting, we try to get one of these put together, and then work from there. If we're going to try to do this for this cycle, we probably need to schedule a couple of listening posts or some sort of thing where we try to get input from the community.
Yeah, listening posts, we'd have to have a public hearing anyway.
We have to have a public hearing, but I was hoping that we would at least bandy it about on a more informal basis first, and then go into take some input, because if you do it as part of the public hearing process, it gets kind of squirrely.
Right.
Could you put it in Jackson E-News as a, just a draft and let people, maybe they have comments on it?
I think we should bandy it about among the planning board and get it the best we can before we set the.
Is there anything that we're looking, my question, do we want to allow commercial development? Would that be something that we want to get feedback on?
And we're
Good, I agree
regulating
with
ground
you.
arrays, or we're trying to regulate ground arrays even in a residential situation. If you're doing a roof, I would think we should get all behind that, because I'm thinking or even the Whitney building, which has the best orientation of any of the town buildings, or say Kendall's barn, Black Mountain Road. What a wonderful place, with no impact. I mean, they're gonna put it on their roof. So I think we're kind of looking at ground arrays to regulate, but I mean, I think we have to state how roof arrays can be used. I don't want to see some smart guy put up sort of buildings.
Just to have roofs?
Just so we have a bunch of roofs out
We're
there.
gonna put up 5 barns.
Right, a bunch of turkey houses. But anyway, I think that we're more concerned about the ground arrays than the roof mounts.
I would agree. And I think what we learned from Kevin last time is that the ceiling, the roof mounts do have some fairly strict requirements relative to how the installation is done, and those are regulated by the building code.
And then the other, there was emergency access to the roof mounted, I don't know whether, they were talking about whether the fire department would require access up onto, if they needed up to get to the roof to vent it in case of a fire or something, as to, you can't have it overlapping the eaves, but maybe you have to have it down from the peak. And that, I don't know what the fire regulations are.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the building code requirements are on those.
Yeah, I don't know the building code. Not being a builder.
All right, so I'll ask the question. How would you like to do this? Do you want to then take this, we go back, come to our November meeting with comments, or get comments
I mean, to me,
between now and then, or what?
to me, the two big questions, again, are do we want commercial, you know, beyond community scale and residential? Do we want to allow commercial in some fashion? And do we want to get into trying to mitigate aesthetic impact?
I think according to our master plan, we want to, aesthetic, we just, any large array would have to be buffered or screened in some way from, and that's one of the things down here. On the first page and down the second, you see that each item is set off by numbers. And then you get down to community scale solar energy systems. That's where I was picking off various items from all the different model ordinances. And Scott, you've got some more model ordinances, so look through their existing ordinances. And so those don't have numbers on it. I just put a little dash before them, and I don't know what order you put these in or whether some of them could be combined. But that's definitely in a very much a draft form as to how much of those items we need and what items are missing. There's
Well, I guess you're asking the question, Scott, and that we should probably provide input. We really want commercial installations.
well, commercial installation would be one where somebody has a piece of land and that's all he uses it for is solar panels.
Yeah.
And so that'd be the primary use of the land. I think as far as commercial businesses having solar either on their rooftop or
Well, I meant more a business producing solar energy as their
Yeah.
product. And
And that
I
would-
think Dick is right, that it would require us to provide an exception for solar businesses in the residential district. If we're to do that. I mean, it's a business and we generally don't want businesses in the residential area.
Right.
On the other hand, it's not the type of business that generates the sort of traffic and, you know, logistical impact that other businesses do. I mean, I'm not on the fence.
The question is then how big would it have to be economically viable?
Right,
Because it may end up being bigger than any of us would want.
right. And the easy way to deal with it, if we know that it has to be bigger than we want, then we just don't say, we just say it's not allowed.
Right.
And not try to get into defining what's too big or
Yeah.
anything, we just say commercial's not allowed, that's.
I mean,
And maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, when technology's changed and we've got a better idea as to, you know, there are people coming saying we would really like to do something here and this is how we do it, we can always change the regulation at that point.
yeah. Well, I think what you do is you allow a rooftop and ground mounted as accessory uses to the business of the resident. You allow that, and if you want to allow community sized, we'd have to define it and say what's allowed. That's what's allowed. And commercial is not allowed because it's not mentioned as being allowed, because that's the type of ordinance we have.
I would vote for not having a quote-unquote commercial installation. And I think I was asking that question to see if we could.
I agree with you. I also think, Jackson's really cute. You start putting up all that stuff, and, we have cross-country skiing, we have people that, you don't want to see arrays all over the place. I mean, you really don't. Roofs and everything else are fine, and
In your backyard or whatever, yeah.
Yes, but not, some of the gorgeous land here around here is gonna be awful looking. I mean, when you go down 113 and see all that, kind of hidden down there, but it's like, so having commercial for that purpose, I want it to be.
I don't think Jackson is the place to put it.
Well, neither do I, but you never knew.
Well, that's the other part is, we're in a cloud zone. There's a radius around Mount Washington that, for the state of New Hampshire, we're cloudy.
Yeah.
You know,
I can
and-
tell you that, having a telescope now, we are in the cloud cities. I can look out and see clear skies all the way in the rest of the valley. Right over there, right there is a cloud.
And then I look at my electric bill, which is, I've got $400 of credit right now, so, from the end of the summer, so that's the other side of it.
That's the other side. Our solar system works.
Yeah, that's great. But we can't see it from the road, and it's just like heading.
But I don't think there's enough to really, it's not like going to New Mexico and putting up a 50-acre array
Mhm.
and you have sunshine, for 364 days a year.
Right.
But the one way to guarantee that you don't have is just say no.
I mean, if you think about it, how could it even be viable with the cost of land in Jackson?
It isn't,
Exactly.
but if you leave the door open,
Yeah, no, I understand.
there's always gonna be somebody who's gonna figure out a way to make it work for them.
Right, you lease the land, buy it, you lease it, or...
Well, if you just wanted to hold on to land, you didn't want to sell it, but you
Yeah.
wanted it to do something for you while you're holding on to it, but you're not gonna build on it,
Yeah.
then throwing up a bunch of panels might be,
It's better than CU, yeah.
So, and also permitted or not permitted, and no conditional use permit.
No conditional use permit, I think we decided that. And for, the accessory use, that's, you just allow.
Right. No, I was looking at some of the charts and like when you get
Yeah,
into,
no, yeah.
like agricultural accessory and,
Well,
residential, it's usually permitted, but when you get into some of the more business associated stuff.
A lot of the model stuff gets really nasty when you start offering out the more options. And the more options you offer out, the uglier it gets to be able to create things, so.
And the model is, these models are for all size communities.
Yes,
And so,
we're not exactly
tailored to all
LA
size
here.
communities.
Okay, so how about we create a kind of like a calendar of events then? By next meeting, we'll come with comments on this.
And other things to add to it, or variations,
That work for
definitions
everybody?
of how you would do a community. And definitely, I know that Scott's got some other, these are ordinances that towns have
Yeah.
already put in.
Yeah.
Have a
there's-
look at them and see what they have.
Yeah,
I mean, there's other aspects to talk about, solar access, getting an easement from your neighbor to make sure that they don't put something up that's gonna block your panels, that sort of thing.
yeah.
And, I mean, there's other wrinkles.
Like a bigger panel.
Big maple tree.
You're stealing my sunshine.
I mean, I was looking for smaller towns that would be more like
Yeah.
Jackson, but frankly, you just see the same, the same guidance documents have gone around, because you see the same tables, the same definitions.
Okay, yeah,
Most of it's just lifted.
yeah, and we don't have a industrial zone,
Right.
so.
All right, so we'll do that. You want to schedule a thing at the community center then, or for a listening post? Does that make sense?
Are we there yet, or, I don't know.
Well, I think once we beat the heck out of this thing,
Sometime in November?
we should be able to by the end of November, maybe?
I don't see any reason why not. I mean, you can do-
I'm sure we could do it by then. One way or another.
Let's see how far we get with this next meeting and then decide whether we want to.
Okay, but I'm just trying to think through what the process should be.
Yeah, I agree, I think we should have an open meeting and stuff for people to agree with that.
And then in December, we can do the public hearings, having taken the input. We'll have another meeting in December before we have the public hearings, that we can do any additional massage and get the public hearings done, and you can actually put this up in March.
And I'm gonna ask that everybody really look for other ordinances, look through them and see what changes to this draft that I put together, and just email me whatever you find, and I'll try to put it all together into a much.
Yeah, I started doing that, but it was kind of like, okay, we need a base to start from that we all agree on before we
So
start.
just, add or just give me the reference, hey, the town of Timbuktu has in their ordinance here, can we do something with that?
Anybody have any further comment or suggestions?
I think we killed it.
Good, okay. Or at least moved it forward. Alrighty. We do have a short-term rental application.
Yep.
Amazing. We haven't had one in a while. This one happens to be on 66B Wentworth Hall. So just by its name, you know that where it is.
Pretty cheap too, $175 a night. That's pretty reasonable for a two-bedroom.
You live in a hotel room.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's cropped up here. When I started looking at Airbnbs over in Maine, they have these like owner fees that are as much or sometimes even more than the per night.
Yeah, by the time you
And you don't see it until you've already,
What is an owner fee? I don't get it.
that's what I was
Charge
saying.
for garbage removal and cleanup.
The cleanup
and-
fee.
But isn't that part of the night?
Okay.
It's kind of like Thompson House charging a 7%.
They charge taxes on their wine, which I've told them it's already paid.
Room to be recorded.
Anyway, but yeah, we were looking at trying to set up something on the trip, and by the time you had a $200 a night deal, it was $435 a night.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
But I think in Wentworth,
But
that's part
their
of
way
the
of
owner's fee.
advertising 200.
Well, they advertise, you sucks you right in, oh, I wanna go there, oh.
Right.
Anyways, back to it.
Yes, yeah, all right, so we've got one here.
Moving ahead now.
Yes, moving ahead.
Quickly.
They advertise properly. They don't have their own number, but they work it through the
Yeah, they do Airbnb or something.
your application for a meals rentals tax operator's license has been submitted, and they have a confirmation code, so they're in the process of doing that.
This is a new one.
Pardon?
This is newly established, so it's gonna have the 30 restrictions.
Well, it's Wentworth, it's,
I think it was in the Wentworth properties, and they're looking to do it separately from Wentworth now. So, yeah, it's.
Because we've got
existing.
several other ones.
But they're also in a commercial, so it doesn't make any difference.
it's all residential.
Scott,
Moot.
Moot point.
I don't want to keep this conversation going, but maybe as part of the short-term rental application, we should ask them if they're charging any ancillary fees.
That's hilarious.
I don't know, would that make sense?
Why do we care what they charge?
I don't know, I think that may be a truth in advertising, it's a good idea, I don't know.
That is ever gonna happen.
I just, I think if people are getting screwed on that, that surprises me. I never.
Well, I mean, you know you're
You know what it
paying
is
before you
before you
pay,
pay it,
but
Yeah.
you do.
I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah.
No more conversation for me. I'm just looking for the hat off.
Is that SB 249?
That's gone.
I know it is, I'm just saying, it wasn't even in that, you know, come on. All right, so there's nothing holding this up other than us talking.
I move that we.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we're good.
It's already.
I did just have some new old business.
Okay, we don't have a new old business.
I'll
You're-
second it.
You're out of order.
Right.
You haven't been recognized.
I wanna go home.
I just want Sarah to read 10.2.2 and tell me what that
Oh dear.
means, what we were intending to do there.
Eligible elderly household. An individual or couple in which the individual or at least one person of the couple is 60 years of age or older, and who by income qualifies as low or moderate income household as defined in this section.
And
So what's the point of that section?
well,
Oh,
you have
that's
to
definition.
figure out where the and works.
No, I'm asking Sarah to read it and interpret it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would give her until next meeting
No,
to do that.
I'm just having listened again, the and separates. The one qualification is one of the people has to be 60 or older.
For what?
And then it says
Tax
and,
exemption, I think is what it's for.
What?
Tax, property tax exemption.
Elderly household.
Well, this is for
for age,
affordable
but
housing.
then it says
Affordable
and then it says
Affordable.
And who?
who.
Right.
But it says one of the couple has to be over 60, but the household is the and who.
Right, but what does the over 60 get you then?
It gets you the option to be
Yeah.
considered.
Qualified as
But
low.
that doesn't matter. If your household is less than the formula, then you're considered anyhow. Age doesn't come into it.
Yeah, yeah.
I-
It
But
the-
where's
If
the,
I were a lawyer, I would say the fact that that's there means that it's qualified based on a single income. There's no other, I can't see any other reason for that
but
section.
where's the affordable housing in Jackson?
Well, it's just, the new state law says that if we're more lenient, or we provide exceptions to elderly,
We need to
Elderly,
change the
then
language.
everyone else qualifies for gets the same thing. And I'm just saying that this, to me, sounds like we're allowing a household to get affordable
It's a
housing based
definition.
on a single.
This is in the definition section, so we have to look to see if eligible elderly household is mentioned in the rest of it.
I didn't see it.
Sarah convinced me last meeting that we didn't have to do it.
You're giving me far too much power. Oh, here we go. 10.4.3.
I've forgotten what it was she convinced me.
No more than 20%. This is under the criteria. 20%. Okay, no more than 20% of the affordable workforce housing units may be one-bedroom or studio apartments, or be restricted to occupancy by eligible elderly households. So that's where it comes in. So they're saying you can't, if you have
Does it come under the 20% rule?
no more than 20% can be one bedrooms or be restricted to occupancy.
Right, but that isn't that different. That's just saying you can't restrict more than 20% to elderly.
Anyway. We could talk about this after the meeting if you want.
Well, I'm just curious whether we need to modify this.
I think there should be a subcommittee of
of 10.
of two individuals to take this offline and give us an advisement on next meeting whether or not we should make a housekeeping change.
Very good. I agree with that.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Well done, folks.